Well, hi. Subscribers to the channel are probably wondering where I've been, as I haven't posted on the channel. It's been nearly 7 months. Anybody who's new to the channel will be wondering, who am I?
Eric, where have you been?
Let's see, where have I been? Where have I been?
Hard to believe, really. Time gets in the way, real life and family and new job, etc. So, yeah, apologies for that, but that's all going to be sorted from now on. I've got a lot of new ideas. I've actually started filming quite a few different videos to go on the channel. You'll just have to subscribe to make sure you catch up with them. So what have I been doing since the last video?
I've been busy.
Well, it's been quite a challenging year physically. I was actually doing really well at the beginning of the year. I was starting to get some PBs, which when you're closer to the winter of your life than the spring of your life, you'll understand that they are few and far between. However, those PBs came at a cost. I started to get a niggle in my left shoulder that became more and more difficult to ignore. Had a bit of physio to try and sort it out, didn't seem to go away. Started doing some rehab, that didn't work. So now I've been to the doctor, I've had an assessment, I've had an MRI scan, and I'm waiting for the results of that scan this week. So I should have a good idea then of what the problem is, whether it's something I can address or whether it's just something age-related, degeneration of some description. And then I'll have to work out how to live with that and work around it. The problem, I believe, is something to do with the rotator cuff. There's a series of muscles up here from my online research and being told by people who are in the know. And I believe I could either have a minor tear of that, an impingement or something like that. But I get a lot of pain, especially when I'm doing anything overhead, any barbell work overhead, push press or snatches especially, really difficult and really do hurt me quite a lot. Anything on the gymnastics bar, like toaster bar and things like that. So I've still carried on doing CrossFit training, but I've had to really change the way I train and scale around things that cause me discomfort or pain, trying to get the same stimulus from the coaches, telling me different exercises to do instead, and that seems to work. I'm not irritating it. It got to the point at one point where I couldn't sleep at night. It was incredible pain no matter where I slept, getting so much pain I couldn't sleep. But now I've got to the stage where I know exactly what hurts and what doesn't, and I can do that until I actually know what the actual physical problem is. And then either, if there's surgery that's involved, then have that done. If it's something that I can't fix, but I'll have to work around, I'll have to see if there's another way of just strengthening the other muscles around it to stabilise it or something. But I won't know that until the 5th of December. All of these problems came up around the time I was doing the Rain Hills Trials seeding workouts. Really frustrating. So I did all the ones that were sort of not to do with your shoulder. I did the snatch PB weight one, but that irritated my shoulder so much that after that I just had to take the decision to just pull out completely, unfortunately. So what else have I been doing? Well, in the summer, when the weather was nicer, I went away with a series of friends from my CrossFit affiliate and to do some climbing. So I went to a place called Wales in the UK, which is basically, if you're abroad and don't understand these things, Wales is probably one of the hillier, more mountainous regions of the UK.
Wales, is that another country? Yes and no.
It was only a weekend trip away, but it was excellent to get in some fresh mountain air. Great for mental health, get out and about, and also do some climbing up in the altitude. The only problem was it was a bank holiday weekend here in the UK, which meant that every man and his dog was also up climbing at the top of Snowdon as well. So it wasn't really getting away from it all because everyone was all doing the same thing and had the same ideas. We started off the trek all together and then we split up into 2 sections. Some of our team went along the pig track, the lower track, because we had a guy with us called Jamie who's blind, and so obviously the Crib Goch probably wasn't be suited to his skill sets. And the rest of us all went over Crib Goch over the top. So for those who don't know, we climbed Snowdon, and Snowdon's got a couple of different routes you can go to it. So you sort of go along one path, you get to a point where there's a division. There's a lower path called the pig track, which goes up and sort of zigzags slowly up and gets up to Snowdon. Or there's another route where you sort of bear right, go up a very steep mountain, and you get to the very top, and then you have to do what's called a scramble. So it's basically a very, very steep precipice, rocky, loose underfoot, etc., called Crib Goch. It's quite dangerous. I didn't know this before we went, but when I came back I did a quick Google and realised that 8 to 10 people every year die on the top of Crib Goch because it's quite dangerous. So yeah, but it was a challenge, and they always say that growth comes in discomfort. So yeah, there was a lot of growth that day. as you can see from the photos here, it's quite a steep drop on one side. I think it's nearly a kilometre drop on one side, called the Red Ridge, and basically you're scrambling precariously over a very steep, thin knife edge ridge. Peer pressure works a treat though, and we all got across it safely and enjoyed it immensely. This was all on the Saturday, and yeah, the weather was really kind to us. It was a bit misty and a bit rubbish before we actually started climbing up, but by the time we got into Crib Goch, the skies parted. We suddenly had loads and loads of glorious sunshine and really good visibility, so really worth the time and effort to get up there. And once we got to the top, we did our selfies, the obligatory selfies that everyone does on top of Snowdon, which is quite difficult because it was absolutely packed up there. And then we walked back along the railway track briefly before we we went back down to the pig track and went back that way past a really large lake. Some of the team jumped in and had a cold immersion plunge or a dip, and then made our way back to our transport. The following day we woke up a bit sorer than the day before, but all still functioning, no injuries or anything like that. And then we decided we were going to drive down to Pen y Fan and do the same there. The weather wasn't as nice that day, unfortunately. We had a lot of rain, a lot of mist, low-lying clouds, so within about 5 minutes of walking up the track we were in sort of mist and you couldn't see anything, but we did it. We got to the top, again, selfie, and got all the way back down. So if you ever get the chance, it's well worth doing. A couple of months ago in September, we did the similar sort of thing again, so the same sort of gang of people, organised by one of the team, decided to do the same sort of thing, but we did Scafell Pike this time. So went all the way up to the Lake District and did a similar sort of thing where we climbed up to Scafell Pike. Unfortunately, the weather conditions that weekend weren't anywhere near as nice as they were when we climbed Snowdon. The accommodation more than made up for it though. Instead of being in just a sort of hiker's lodge, we managed to get an Airbnb, which was a huge manor house. It was an amazing place. There was a dining room there large enough to seat 20 of us, and we had a meal bought in. We'd arranged, one of the guys had arranged for a local caterer to bring in a Moroccan feast. In between all the hiking, I did get out and do One All Games again this year as well. Had a great time. If you want to look at my review, I've got a review of doing the One All Games up here. Basically, it's a competition held down at Redruth in Cornwall in the UK. Brilliant competition, quite a big competition as well. CrossFit stroke functional fitness based. Our gym goes down there with probably about 15 to 20 teams, so it's quite a big social event for all of us. And this year I had the benefit of doing it with my daughter as well. As I said, it's quite a big event. I think there was 109 teams this year, and they're all 4-person teams, 2 male, 2 female. It's a whole weekend event, more like a festival than just a CrossFit competition. Everyone camps and stays overnight locally, and then there's a DJ blasting out the beats throughout the day while you're working out. There's stands, vendor village, that sort of thing, and it goes on. I think there was 7 events this year. Another highlight for the weekend was the fact that myself and my daughter both did a PB clean, although hers looked more like a clean, whereas mine looked just a mess, but counts in CrossFit. Done quite a bit of travelling around for work this year as well, so I went down to London quite a few times. So I did my very first ever gym group session at a gym group in London, which was interesting compared to a CrossFit gym. Some very interesting Olympic lifting techniques being shown on offer there. And I also did a bit of CrossFit box tourism with a trip to a CrossFit box in London at the same time as well. On the subject of my beaten, battered body, my elbow is still playing me up. I still can't straighten my arm. So I went the whole route again. So I went to see my local doctor, asked if there's anything I could do about it, got referral to the consultant that did the operation for me originally a few years back. He had a look at it, agreed that my mobility still wasn't there, and I've had a CT scan to show that there's still some growth in my elbow that shouldn't be there. So the results of the CT scan came through, and they were on an app that you get for the local NHS trust. Obviously it's in medical terminology that's well beyond my grasp of medical language, but a quick session with ChatGPT, I didn't realise you could actually pump in all the text and say, might turn that into language that I understand, and it did that. So AI came to the rescue, and I got the idea that basically there's just extra bone growing in my elbow again. That needs to be removed so that there's nothing like there's an end stop, a bump stop stopping me straightening my arm. So I'm on the waiting list for the operation, but obviously the current situation with NHS waiting lists, that could be a while. I also managed to tweak my back a few months back. So I was in a The stupid thing about this is I went to a mobility class beforehand, so spent a good 1 hour going through a lot of mobility stretches I've never done before. Thought that'd be great, then went straight into an Olympic lifting specialist class. I was doing some, I think they were high hang snatches, or I don't know, high hang cleans I think they were. And then as I was tensing up, I could feel like a tweak in my back, and the coach who was there at the time said, okay, stop what you're doing straight away. I walked off, tried to do the typical man thing and try to walk it off, and it just got worse and worse and sore, so stopped the class, went home, had a hot bath, did all the normal things, but woke up in the morning and I couldn't get out of bed.
Lower back pain.
Had some like emergency physio with the local physio company, and it turned out that I was getting a bit stressed and thinking I'd actually popped a disc, which I did many years ago when I was younger, which was incredible pain and put me out of action for months, whereas this was literally just a muscle strain, where one of the muscles had spasmed a bit, and within about a week or so of like some stretches and things, I was back in the gym. And just on low weights, not pushing it or anything, and I'm now back to full strength and pushing out PBs. So yeah, it's a sign that you can carry on through a small injury as long as you rehab it properly. Sorry for those who are a bit younger watching the channel, because this probably feels more like a medical documentary than a channel update.
I'm just really broken.
Well, that's you all caught up for now. Like I say, I've got loads of new videos in the pipeline that I've been planning, that I've actually started filming already. One of those is I did a trail run, and this one here, the East Devon 8 Trigs, which in the good old premise of a YouTuber I did no training for whatsoever. Basically it came up as a last minute thing with about 4 or 5 weeks to go before the trail run was available. I was doing CrossFit 4 or 5 times a week, so I thought that'll be enough to get me through on the strengths and conditioning side of life, and I'll just have to wing it on the running. The guys I was doing the competition with said that we weren't going to run the whole distance anyway. It was going to be a mixture between running and walking, and because it was going to be a mixture of running and walking, I thought that's fine, I'll be able to wing it, and did manage to complete it, although there was a few issues with it, which I'll talk about in the video. And I've also been doing a video about doing 10,000 steps a day. I know this is like, when you're doing a lot of CrossFit and other working out and things like that, it seems to be one of those things you look down on, just doing 10,000 steps a day. But because I changed jobs in the last 12 months and I'm now in a much more sedentary job, I'm more sat at a desk all the time, I did notice that slowly but surely I was starting to put a bit of timber on.
Stop eating, fatty.
I was starting to feel just not as fit, not as healthy. And then when I started looking at my movement, if you like, on my Garmin and on my Apple phone, I realised that yeah, I dropped to about 2,000 or 3,000 steps a day. So now I'm almost up to a month now of doing 10,000 steps a day, and I feel much better for it. And so I'm doing a video all about that as well. So if you're not a subscriber, here's your chance to pop down below, subscribe, like this video while you're there, leave a comment, tell me if you've got any injuries, or is it just me at my age group that's hit with so many injuries. And I'll see you all in the next video.